I've gotten this one and several similar from a number of different people, so forgive me if I don't give proper credit. Just know that I appreciate you sending in these videos. I tend not to address creationism very often. I used to until I realized that I continually had to give a very basic science education to these people, and they didn't care how things worked in the real world. They were just going to spout the same irrational bullshit no matter how badly discredited it actually was. Creationists are toward the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to religious apologetics. Most theists just have to keep making crap up to go along with their magical fantasy book. Creationists have to entirely deny reality while doing the same thing. Therefore, it's very simple to blow the arguments of creationists out of the water, but they don't really care if what they believe is complete nonsense, so it all ends up being a complete waste of time. So anyhow, let's look at this video where our creationist tries desperately to send us evil atheists to the website of convicted tax criminal Kent Hovind. This ought to be good.
All right, another little video here for you if you're an atheist. As I kind of expected, again, anytime I post anything against atheism now, it's just the religious fanatics come out of the woodwork and rant and rave and everything else. And I saw one guy said that, he wrote this huge big thing, all atheists do that, and you have to answer me point by point.
Oh, that face is precious. But clearly, this guy doesn't know that going over points of contention is how rational people debate topics. I guess I shouldn't be so surprised. I'm just a few seconds into this video, and already he's calling atheists religious and making bold generalizations. After all atheists do that, right? I do not have a good feeling about this.
Well, I actually have a life besides YouTube, okay. I got almost 11,000 subscribers on this one channel alone, and thousands upon thousands of comments every day, and I'm supposed to answer everybody. Okay, yeah, that's going to happen. Sure.
If you have no time to have a channel, don't have a channel. Don't go attacking people, and then when you get challenged, pretend that you have no time to defend yourself. Now, I have nowhere near 11,000 subscribers, and I still take time to answer all questions put to me and engage in long, detailed discussions with anyone who wants to have them. I make it a point to make time to do this. It's part of being a worthwhile content creator on YouTube, especially on the kind of contentious topics that I tend to cover. If I didn't want to do that, I could just make some unboxing videos or top 10 lists or whatever. Being available to answer questions and have conversations. That just comes with the territory.
But if you're really truly looking for the truth in terms of this whole thing of creation versus evolution, I just want to recommend a channel for you, because this is the guy that taught me all about creation science and showed me how stupid atheism is. Kent Hovind, Dr. Kent Hovind. And of course the atheists will quickly say, well, he was in jail and everything else. He wasn't in jail because of his creation science beliefs. Actually, I think that was the real reason behind the scenes. But, he was in jail for structuring stupid IRS nonsense, and they went after him and everything else. And he stood up for his rights, and they put him in prison ridiculous amount of time. I mean, there are people that do drive-by shootings, gang members and stuff like that get less prison time than Kent Hovind did. But absolutely ridiculous.
No. Hovind was engaged in tax fraud, unrepentant tax fraud at that. Hovind was attempting to avoid paying taxes by pretending to be a tax-exempt church, even though he had no legal tax-exempt status, had not filed to be considered a church. Heck, he had no business licenses of any kind. He did everything he could to avoid paying taxes, including attempting to declare Chapter 13 bankruptcy, claiming that he was not a United States citizen and did not earn any income, even though he was depositing more than $2 million a year into his bank accounts. According to Hovind, he was a minister, and therefore everything he owned belonged to God, and the government could not tax it. The court declined to grant him a bankruptcy, finding that he had lied about his possessions and income, agreed with the IRS that his claim was filed in bad faith for the sole purpose of avoiding payment of federal income taxes, and called Hovind's arguments patently absurd. They also discovered that Hovind had not filed a federal income tax return in more than 30 years, something he admitted to the New York Times. If you listen to our podcast on sovereign citizens, you know what Hovind tried next, claiming that he and his wife were a natural citizen of America and a natural sojourner. The IRS found him guilty of tax evasion, and he and his wife owed $4.9 million in unpaid taxes, and Hovind was sentenced to 10 years in prison. You may remember that Wesley Snipes spent 31 months in prison for trying something similar, but Hovind was completely unrepentant about his actions. Witnesses testified in court that Hovind claimed he had beat the tax system and favored cash payments because they were untraceable. The difference between the two was Snipes was taken in by a con man, and Hovind was a con man and proud of it. And the sad thing was, had Hovind just cooperated with the IRS, he never would have spent a day in prison. He was put away because he was an asshole. And of course, we see the kind of abject paranoia that a lot of these religious idiots have, that it must have been because he was a Christian. And you can't get more ridiculous than that.
If you're an atheist and you want to talk to somebody or ask questions to somebody, right now he's asking question and answers. Just send him all the questions that you have, and basically he'll make a fool out of you.
You mean like he made a fool out of himself and his wife? And why does Hovind have time to answer any and all questions that come his way when this dude can't answer a few questions on a YouTube channel? The mind boggles.
To put it very bluntly, I mean, this guy's been standing up for creation science and exposing evolution for the satanic lie that it is. He's been doing it for years and years and years.
Indeed he has, and he's been a laughingstock for years and years and years. After all, Hovind offered, for a very long time, a $250,000 award to prove evolution, where he proved he had no idea what evolution actually was. He demanded that people prove evolution by showing that the universe came into being through naturalistic processes. Kent, that's not evolution. I'm sorry. You're an idiot.
And so, I mean, Ken Hovind's ministry is more geared towards that creation science type of a thing. I mean, I can answer, as well. I have the King James Bible. We both use the King James Bible and believe it. But you really want the truth? There's the guy to go to. He's done the work. My stands are mostly on the Bible version issue. I talk about the rapture issue, and which I differ with Ken Hovind on that, and there'll be more coming out on that in the future. But I have some areas of expertise that I spend my time in, and I've put together videos, documentaries, and things. Here's one of them, actually getting ready to send this out to a brother, The Ridiculous Bible Perversions of the New Age. Unfortunately, I lost the guy's mailing address. So if you're watching, send it to me. But anyhow, I have my areas of expertise, and time that I've really spent and money that I've spent into putting together certain productions. He's put a lot into the thing of debunking evolution.
Now, wait a minute. We're supposed to believe that you're doing this as a business and you have no time to actually correspond with potential customers? After all, that looks like a somewhat professionally made DVD. I would assume that he isn't just giving them away for free, and besides, he's clearly not very organized if he's losing the mailing addresses of people who have paid him for merchandise. And we're supposed to take this guy seriously? If you can't even keep your obligations and send things out that have been bought and paid for, how are we supposed to take your supposed expertise seriously? I might just have to look at some of your other videos and see just how much of an expert you really are. Claimed expertise and demonstrated expertise are two very different things, And
of course the atheists are very narrow-minded and they're bigoted and religiously intolerant of anything that goes against their fanatical faith that they have. And so most of them will never watch Ken Hovind. They'll just come out with all these just nonsensical questions and all this philosophical stuff. It's just so funny just to watch these people just floundering and just going into fits over the thing of the Bible being true. And
no. We actually expect you to back up your claims with objective evidence, logic, and reason, and you simply fail to do so. But again, we see that creeping paranoia that it has to be some weird conspiracy to ignore Christian claims because of anti-religious fanaticism. There can't be any actual failure on the religious side. They have to be able to handily dispose of all criticism, and otherwise they just might be made to feel bad about the silly things that they believe. Isn't it funny how he's basically saying, oh, you atheists with your facts and your logical arguments? Well, yes, that's how rational debate actually operates. It's funny that you don't know that.
And let me just state something, because I've seen this with a couple of you atheists, and again, just going along with the reprobate mind that you have, and that is that you say that you feel such hatred from us as Christians. When we tell you that you're going to hell, not one of us out there is saying you're going to hell and we're not going to tell you how to get out of it. Any one of us that says you're going to hell, it's a warning. It's not a threat.
But it's an unsupported warning. It's a warning out of a book of Bronze Age mythology. You are making claims that you cannot demonstrate using objective evidence. Yes, we doubt you in the same way we doubt claims if you say Bloody Mary in a mirror 3 times, she'll appear. Or Candyman, or any of the other idiotic myths that are out there without a shred of evidence. A warning about something that is totally unsupported is a piss-poor warning.
It's a warning, and we're saying we can tell you how to get out of it. We can tell you, think about this. God in heaven sends His only begotten Son down to die on the cross to do something for us because we couldn't do it for ourselves. You see, Jesus Christ is the end of self-righteousness. Jesus Christ died on the cross and paid for our sins because we can't be good enough to pay for those sins.
No, think about it. Your God supposedly set up the system whereby humans who don't do what He says are going to this place of eternal torment that He built, even though God is all-knowing and knows for a fact exactly what each and every person will do before they're even born. So according to Christian belief, everything must be predetermined or God's foreknowledge must be incorrect. Nobody can change their minds, so your warnings are pointless. Your preaching is pointless. And because I'm going wherever I'm going and there's nothing you or I or anyone else can do about it, what's the point? And then we get to this really absurd idea of vicarious redemption. It doesn't matter if you can con someone else into taking the fall for your actions. It doesn't matter if someone else volunteers to go to prison for you or get executed for you. You are still personally responsible for the actions that you took. And even though you might get out of the punishment, you are still guilty of the crime. This is called justice. Yet under the Christian model, justice doesn't exist. And this is something you want rational people to accept? Yeah, good luck on that.
You say, I reject the idea of sins. Of course you do. Of course you do. Because you go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 3, and you have Satan saying to Eve, ye can be as gods. She sees that the tree is, there. It's desirable to make one wise. And Satan says, you can be as gods, knowing good and evil. That's what an atheist is. Really, truly, an atheist is one that believes that they themselves are their own God. They're the master of their own little universe that they live in.
No, I reject the idea of sins because you have not demonstrated that they have any meaning in the real world. In order for there to be sins, there has to be a God, and you haven't shown that to be true. I don't reject laws. We know where laws come from. We know how they operate. We can prove that laws are both real and applicable, and sins not so much. And it's funny that he brings up the myth of the snake and Eve because it points out just one more place where the character of God is really an idiot. Adam and Eve were never given the knowledge of good and evil. They couldn't possibly have known that it was wrong to disobey God because they were totally without any moral sense and designed to be that way. Yet God not only punished Adam and Eve, He punished all of mankind because God was a prick right off the bat, and this joker pretends that God being a dick is a good thing. That's a really great theology you have there.
So if you want to go someplace where you can have a good time and ask Ken Hovind all the questions that you want to send him and whatever else, go ahead, go over there. Kent Hovind Official. Okay, official's all capital letters. Kent Hovind Official. Check his channel out here on YouTube. Watch his videos on creation science versus evolution, and you'll see that evolution falls apart very quickly. So that'll be it. Thank you for watching.
I love it when these crazy people capitalize part of their name. It's kind of like Internet Atheism Exposed. Yeah, that went well, didn't it? But by all means, if you want to be entertained, go over to Hovind's channel and be prepared to laugh. You can ask questions, but you won't get any real answers. You'll just get apologetics and baseless claims that he can only pretend are so. If you want any actual answers, things that can be backed up with objective evidence, logical reasoning, that have been critically evaluated by peer review, then go anywhere but Kent Hovind's site. You'll just end up terribly disappointed and depressed to see people so deluded, speaking with so much totally undeserved authority and conviction. And there you go. I spent this entire video facepalming and eye-rolling because that's really all any of it was worth. So what do you think? Does Husky 394XP have anything resembling a point, or is he just making more empty claims and pretending people ought to just go along with it? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. And remember, the Bible says to render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. That includes tax money. Somebody ought to tell Kent Hovind to read his own fucking Bible.